What's the best way to communicate with your new members so that you can stop them from canceling their subscription shortly after joining? I'm Robert Skrob, and this is the show that helps your membership or subscription business be unleavable. In any subscription or membership or SaaS business, you'll always get a percentage of customers who ask to cancel within their first month or two. So how can you minimize that? Well, how you communicate with your new subscribers needs to be different than the language that you use with long-term members. Think of it this way. A conversation on a first date would naturally be very different to the conversation that you have at dinner celebrating your first wedding anniversary with your spouse. On the first date, it would be fine to ask about the person's interests and family, but when it comes to the first anniversary, you would be asking your spouse, what siblings do you have? If you did, your chances of getting a second anniversary are going to definitely plummet. In this episode, I'm going to show you how to write appropriate welcome emails, videos, and ongoing communications for new members so that you can maximize retention within all phases of your member journey. In my book, Retention Point, I cover this in even more detail, so be sure to check this out. Before we dive in, press the like button and also subscribe to this channel to make sure that you're the first to know about future episodes. I often see subscription businesses make three big mistakes within their member communication. The first mistake is ignoring onboarding for new members completely. The second mistake is sending new subscribers the same communication as existing members. And the third mistake is overwhelming your new members. So let's take a look at each of these now. First, ignoring onboarding for new members. That's a huge, inexcusable blunder that will cost the business owner dearly. There's no question that new members require special, tailored attention. And that brings us to mistake number 2, sending a new subscriber the same communication as existing members. This is a big no-no. Think of it like throwing somebody in front of the Netflix series Orange is the New Black, beginning with season 4, episode 7. The person won't know what's going on. They're not going to be familiar with the characters. And ultimately, they'll be very confused about how everything fits together. Instead, when you start watching with season 1, episode 1, that episode is carefully crafted to introduce you to Piper, explaining why she's in jail. And given her background, you'll likely be rooting for her throughout the series. In a similar way, new members need an on-ramp to bring them up to speed. Just like highways have on-ramps or slip roads that allow new drivers to get up to speed as they join the main road. Without that on-ramp, it would be chaos with different cars going at different speeds. One example of how an on-ramp can be effective is in answering the most common questions about a product or service. New members tend to ask the same 10 questions. And if you have a membership community, forum, or Facebook group, longtime members will quickly become bored or disengaged if they've got to keep reading the same questions and answers every time somebody new joins. And that brings us to mistake number 3, overwhelming new members with too much stuff. A new member needs to feel that they're guided through their early days in a step-by-step, easy-to-understand pace. If they're dumped straight into the fast lane, they'll soon feel overwhelmed, like they can't keep up, and that invariably leads to a cancellation. Any one of these 3 mistakes can lead to high churn rates. How frustrating would it be if you're to spend a lot of money adding new subscribers, only to see many of them to quit within a few weeks? Your subscription won't grow, and you'll miss your growth goals. I don't want that for you. So, apart from avoiding the mistakes that we just reviewed, what else should you be doing to solve this? Well, let me tell you a brief story that'll help you understand this topic further. Imagine a friend recommends a new restaurant to you. You tell your spouse, hey, let's check out this new place. John recommended it to us. Whether or not you have a great experience will be determined in large part by whether your spouse enjoys it. The service must be on point. The food has to be great. And the restrooms and restaurant must be clean. It's all got to be right. This is known as the trust phase. The restaurant must deliver on the core offering with good marks for service, quality, and cleanliness for both you and your spouse to give it a second try. Now, let's imagine you do have a great experience and you start visiting this restaurant a couple of times a week. Within a few weeks, you'd expect that the restaurant staff to begin to recognize you, right? Maybe even remember your favorite dishes or wine, as well as your names. And if you have the same server 3 or 4 times, and that person doesn't recognize you, it feels a little strange, wouldn't it? Suddenly, the core offerings, the restaurant service, the food quality, and the cleanliness aren't enough anymore. You would naturally expect more. And what's even stranger, if the server does seem to recognize you and remembers your order and calls you by name, you tend to make allowances if the food quality is a little bit off or the restroom needs to be cleaned better. In other words, over time, being recognized becomes more important. It's interesting, isn't it? This is known as the important stage. Now, imagine that you and your spouse visit the restaurant so often that you get to know the other regulars. At this point, dining out is more of an excuse to catch up with friends. If the service is off, you'll be much more forgiving because the main reason that you're there has now changed. It's now about connecting with friends in a place that serves good food and that you feel comfortable within. This is known as the connection stage. So do you get the point for your subscription? Just as a smart restaurant evolves in the way that they interact with you over time, your membership communication must evolve in order to keep your members around for the long term. Now that you understand the general concept, let's dive a little deeper for subscriptions. Coming back to the initial trust stage. For new subscribers, it's critical to deliver exactly what you promised. So if you have a SaaS product that promises efficiency, and if the new subscriber completes the initial onboarding steps but doesn't feel that you've delivered on the promise of making their life better, they're going to cancel. So it's critical to deliver on the core promises that you've made. Otherwise, you're going to see a high churn rate. Second, importance. As your customer moves beyond the initial trust stage, it's important to recognize them for their loyalty and reward them for being a repeat customer. As they use your product, encourage them to reach out with photos or results stories that you can share on social media to recognize their achievements. Some businesses do this type of thing with gamification badges or levels, and others encourage use of member profiles that highlight achievements, and some invite members to post unboxing videos on social media. Remember, your subscriber wants to be seen and acknowledged. I think Netflix and Disney Plus and other similar companies are making a huge mistake and only focusing on the race to create more and more and more content. By the way, there's one key point to understand here. Members in the initial trust stage, they don't give a crap about your badges or recognition. They simply want to know that they can trust you to deliver on what you promised. It's only after that you've established trust that they start to evolve. And that's another reason why your communication must evolve as well. Finally, connection. You know those subscribers who love you so much that they buy everything and that they tell all their friends about you? These are the members who have reached the most powerful connection stage. Within the connection stage, it's very important to introduce your members to your community and invite them to share their stories. To become deeply invested, they must also feel that they have a relationship with you. You'll know when somebody reaches that point because they'll often say "we" in reference to your subscription program, as they've taken an ownership role in it. So you can see why it's essential to evolve your communication with members relative to how long that they've been with you. Otherwise, even if somebody loves the core product or service, they're far more likely to quit because they reach a point where your subscription just doesn't feel right anymore. There's a lot of deep psychology behind all of this. And in summary, you need to structure your member communication around 3 key stages of the customer journey. First, trust. When somebody first joins, you'll need to hold their hand, assume nothing, and deliver on your promises as quickly and as simply as possible. Next, importance. As members start to engage, recognize their loyalty and achievements. And then lastly, connection. This is the art of building a passionate community of long-term, loyal subscribers. A key way of doing this is by sharing member success stories. That's what it takes to be Unleavable. And even though it may feel like a lot when you first hear it for the first time, it's actually a huge reduction in work because it means that you can get off the hamster wheel of feeling like you need to constantly give more. Instead, you deliver the value that members want and need relative to their stage within the member journey. Now, if you've enjoyed and benefited from the concepts that I've shared in this episode, then I am confident that you will love this resource. After more than 25 years of working with subscription and membership businesses, I've identified all of the key factors that are seen in the most successful subscription businesses. If you'd like to know what they are, you can either buy this book on Amazon or instantly download a digital copy for free at subscriptionsmadeeasy.com. After you receive the book, there's an opportunity to have me walk you through the details and get your questions answered. And you'll probably want that too, but there's no obligation. Let me ask you, have you created different communications for different types of members or subscribers? I'd love to hear from you, and I encourage you to share your thoughts and opinions about that or anything else that I've covered in this episode by posting your comments below. Also, remember to like and subscribe if you haven't done so already, and that way you'll be the first to know when new episodes are available. And finally, check out this video on communication for long-term subscriber retention by developing passionate subscriber engagement. There's an easy-to-follow template that'll greatly speed up your implementation. Enjoy that episode, and I'll see you next time on Be Unleavable.